Happy Monday, everyone. It's Greg Dixon here with Betty Withrow, and we have some exciting things to share with you today. We have been broadcasting on writing and publishing topics for a long time on Tuesdays, but we've gotten away from it because I don't know, for some reason our clients always want to book time here. But anyway, we said we're going to move everybody else around our time this week.
Yeah.
And so one of the things we've been talking about, all sorts of things, the writing process, the outlining, all that kind of thing. And Betty has been helping people write and ghostwrite and getting through the process. And I've been helping with different stages of getting, especially the book formatting and getting them up somewhere like Amazon. And so we've decided that we've got a pretty good continuous stream from the idea right to being publishing, launching, and then we are in a collaboration with under Total Traffic and Conversion where we do marketing. So we're a pretty full service organization here. So we're just talking about, some people come in with just a notion they want to write a book, or they might have everything pretty much ready and need to format it and print it and then get it up to some kind of platform to publish it. So anyway, we're going to talk about the journey that you can take with your book on your own, and the journey that you can take with us if you want to come and you want help along the way. And Betty, maybe you can talk about what you do when you start working with a writer and an author.
Yes. Well, thanks, Greg. That is, begin at the beginning and go on until you reach the end and then stop. That was the advice that the White Queen gave to Alice, and it's still sound today. So what I do is at the beginning, the first question I ask is, what do you want this to do? Every book, every writing project has a different purpose and a different person who's doing it and a different message. So in the first conversation, I want to know, what is the scope of the work? What do you want your readers to know? What do you want them to take away from what they read? And what are you personally or professionally going to gain by going through this exercise of creating and publishing a book? Those are some of the questions, and it helps me to understand what kind of an offering is going to serve best. I've had people come to me with most of the book already written. Maybe they have pages and pages of outline or things that they have fleshed out into actual documents and things like that, but they're not organized and they don't feel complete. And so I've worked with them to smooth that out and get something together that can be published and show its value in the marketplace. Other people, they just have an idea. For example, the most recent book that I uploaded for one of my authors is a work of fiction. And the woman and I met in an online business event. She had an idea for a novel. And as we worked together, we developed both the characters and the plot and the actual pitch of the book. What is this book about? And what is the subliminal message behind this novel? So, different approaches to different types of writing and for different goals. Another person that I worked with, right now I'm working with a couple of different gentlemen who we do interviews. I'm ghostwriting for them, and we have an interview scheduled on a regular basis where I question them about things in their topics, ask them, well, what do you want to talk about now? And they do. And I take the notes using my AI and refine those notes down into writing their chapters. Those are people who have a lot of knowledge. They don't have time to write their books. They don't have the knowledge of how to put it all together, but they do have the knowledge of the basics and in some cases the very refined material that they want to present. So, all told, there's just no two alike, Greg. And so it's all individualized. And that's why I encourage people to schedule a time to talk to me about what it is that they want to do so that I can customize the approach to how to make that happen.
Yeah, no two are alike. Everyone is unique. That's for sure, right? So I think that's part of the fun with what we do is, every person, every new client is an opportunity to learn something new about what they do, and even if it's the same topic as somebody else, everybody has a unique spin on it.
Yes.
Yeah. So as you mentioned, what you do for them, it depends. Like some people are, as you said, some people will come and they've got basically everything, all their rough notes, all the rough draft, everything, and
Mhm.
you're just massaging it into something ready to go. And then others, as you spoke about, you started with an idea for a novel, and then you worked together. You were collaborators on the book, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there was another novel that I worked with recently where the woman had the whole thing written out already, and it needed some editorial changes, to make the voice and the timelines flow well, and it needed some character development. So I was able to go, okay, well, what is it that's driving this person? Identify the themes that she wanted to expose in the book, and help her to deepen the character development so they express those themes more effectively. And it was a very intense book, and I believe that we did a great thing by really honing it down to its best. So truly great writing from somebody on her first book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
a lot of what we've collaborated on some formatting for one of the books you've been working on,
mhm.
and we're refining the process. Like that is the, as you said, you with some people it's better to do an interview, others might read notes, or they have type notes, or give you their shoebox or cards. you know well, their index cards. Everybody has a different notion about what it is, but
Yeah.
what we're trying to work together, we're trying to work a process that will work for our clients, and then work for you and I to go through. Like one of the things that we jumped the gun on when we were doing the formatting is we weren't quite finished with the basic manuscript first before we went to the formatting, so that introduced some awkwardness in it that we had to go back. So
Yeah.
we're working on that, and we're kind of trying to walk our talk today. This morning I started in Google Drive and an article that we're working on together. I got started on it with an outline, and then I got pulled away, and then you jumped in and wrote a bunch of stuff, and then next thing you know, it'll be an article on the website. So,
Yeah, yeah. See, that's the thing is you did a great job on the outline, and then I could say, okay, this is talking about what I do and how I do it. So realistically, I should write that, and then let Greg do what he does. Talk about what you do, and yeah. So in terms of the formatting thing, I'm really grateful that you can do it because it's always been a bogey for me. I'm much more into the wordsmithing and messaging part of the writing process, and so having it, being able to turn it over to you and have you turn it out beautifully is wonderful for me. It saves a lot of time, energy, and dare I say, aggravation. So
yeah, no, it's good. And going back to that stage where we sort of got out of it too soon is where
mhm.
you have a place where you want the author's feedback and input,
Yeah,
and then one or more copy editors feedback,
indeed. Yeah,
and then there's always something to add or something to revise, and go through that process until everybody's happy. And then you move it on to the next process, and nothing's ever completely done. Always up to the last minute there's always going to be a thing, oh, I could have added a paragraph here or changed something, but you want to get it to be as good as you have within the constraints of your time and sanity. So
yeah. Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that is both a gift and a challenge in modern publishing. I had a conversation with a gentleman who's been printing and typing and things, as typesetting and everything for 40 years, and he mentioned how in earlier days you would say, "This is it. You get one revision, done, all done," right? And
yeah,
now you can literally make revisions up to the very last minute. And if you're doing it on Amazon and you don't like what just happened, you can go ahead and re-upload.
yeah, you can,
So,
yeah,
yeah,
and you may need to.
and they need to, yeah. So it's a challenge either way you go.
it's always a challenge for
Mhm.
sure. And it's and as you alluded to, there are a lot of steps, and it's really hard for to be good at all of the steps. So that's what our collaboration is good, because some of
Mhm.
the things I'm better at, um, fill in the gaps that you have, and then you fill in a lot of gaps for me. So then
Mhm.
together we could put it in. And again, I think you and I always look at it as a collaboration with our clients.
Yeah.
So at the end, everybody's happy with what's created.
Yeah, as you said, it's really hard for one person to understand everything that needs to be done. And um, as an editor, I can say that it's easy to develop blind spots. You may have looked at something 3 or 4 times and didn't see it, and then all of a sudden it jumps out at you the next time, and you go, "How did I possibly miss that?" And this is one of the reasons why having multiple sets of eyes and multiple brains in play makes
Uh,
for a better product.
and we had a broadcast of a couple of months ago, I think, on the different types of editing,
Hmm.
because you're the thing you like to do is mostly developmental editing,
Hmm.
and then there's copy editing, proofreading. It's almost like everybody they've got a different hat on it. They're looking at it for a different point of view, right?
Yes.
Like a copy editor is maybe not even caring about the plot or any of that stuff. They just want to know that everything's spelled correctly and formatted correctly, and
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and and then somebody might go through and say, "Are we going to get sued for this?"
Right. Different type of editing. And my experience has been that I can do different types of editing. I can do. I'm a decent copy editor. I've had good recommendations and people sending me referrals. So I guess I do it right. Right. And having said that, if I were to be both the developmental editor and the copy editor, I'm not sure that the same brain is going to see that same manuscript in those different ways.
Yeah,
I mean,
no,
it's possible, but it will
it's
take longer.
yeah, no, it is like I have a couple of writing quirks. like I like with clockwork, I'll write AND instead of AN, and AN instead of AND. Like
Mhm,
it's so often I probably do it 80%, and now I go back and I look for it. Just
mhm.
it's a weird kind of
Yeah,
it's just a weird quirk. and
right, right,
you
right.
know, and I think every writer has a quirk, and every copy editor has their own
Mhm,
quirks. And so if you
mhm,
got 3 or 4 people who've all taken a look at it from a different perspective, um,
right.
the chances are it's going to be pretty good.
Yeah.
And my experience is I've taken something I've written and given it to 4 different people, and everybody has come back with different comments, to the point where nobody flagged any one thing. Like there was nothing that more than one person noted, right? So and
Yeah.
it became obvious that a few people were looking at it only from a what they thought was grammar and spelling, often not right, but anyway, but they would come back with that's the only thing they looked at. They didn't
Mhm,
care about the content, and then others only were caring about the tone and the message, and they
uh-huh.
didn't, they let glaring typos go. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so it's interesting is that everybody sees things differently. I guess even when it comes down to the final product, you know, people pick up a poem, and no 2 people read the poem the same way. So it's the same all the way through the whole process.
Truly. Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, speaking of quirks, my quirk is that when I'm typing, I very often will capitalize the first 2 letters of a word, at
Yes.
the beginning of a sentence. I mean, like you said, it's almost like clockwork. You're gonna do it at least 3 or 4 times in it per page, and then have to correct it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't have the problem on the Apple keyboard, but on a Windows keyboard, a larger, I'd always drag my little finger and hit the caps lock key. Uh,
Yeah, that's always a favorite too.
yeah, so I would take the pliers and rip the caps lock key out of there.
Wow.
Yeah, so I can't, because you when you're not the best typer in the world and you're typing everything twice, it's really frustrating, right?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know there's something going on when I'm in the middle of typing, say, a LinkedIn message, and all of a sudden everything's in capitals. I'm like, wait, back up here, slow down.
Or when you're trying to enter a password in, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I know that's my right password. What's wrong with you? And then, oh no, it wasn't that. It was me. Oh, how embarrassing! But you get over it.
Yeah. So I think since our title of our talk was your book journey, so let's take somebody from the idea phase, like, so they've got some kind of notion or affliction that they have to write a book, and so they call us, right?
Uh-huh.
So what's that? As you said, you're going to start with a meeting.
Yeah, I start with a meeting, and my first step would be to say, well, let's get into a coaching program so we can really nail what it is that you want to do and put together a functioning outline and start building some momentum here. And several clients of mine whose books are published have started with exactly that place. And then what I find is that once they get that clarity, they're just straight ahead. It may have taken them 15 years to get that book idea lined up, and then all of a sudden it's happening in a matter of months. So that would be the first thing to do. Well, if it's just coming from a notion, as you put it, and then move on from there.
And we discussed one time that if for both of us, if we get to the point where we've written an outline, then that's really feels like more than half of the work, because you've got clarity. I think the problem is people have an idea they're right, but the ideas are just floating around. They can't organize them yet. But if you get to the point where they put it in an outline, then it's more or less just filling in the gaps between the outline.
It is. And then sometimes the outline will migrate the book, and the book will migrate the outline. For example, I spent this morning editing different books, two of them being ghostwrites, and I'm now going to the original outline and comparing it with the later outline that I developed, and going back and forth within the manuscript to compare the chapter headings and make sure that everything's consistent, so that I know that things are in the right place. And so that without the outline, I'd be totally lost, because, for example, I'll say to one of my clients, well, what do you want to talk about today? And he's got some great insights about brain science and personality issues and trauma and things. And so he may, sometimes he asks me to tell him what to talk about, but other times I just go, give me a story. And he's got a story. And then I have to figure out, where does that go within the outline that we've already developed? So having that process makes it so that it can make sense.
You brought up something interesting. Like, I think sometimes us and the people we work with don't necessarily see what they have to offer, right? Like, sometimes your absolute genius is something that you've done all the time, and you almost assume that everybody understands it and everybody knows that you do it, and you just forget to mention it, right? And so somebody like you, and you can look at what you know about them and say, well, let's talk about this. Oh yeah, that's a good idea.
Exactly. Like in the case of one of the other books that I was working on today, the author had simply overlooked the fact that part of his book feeds perfectly into a company that he wants to develop more effectively. He has several companies, and he just kind of didn't get it. That, do you see that this fits perfectly in? And, and we can use this to lead into an invitation to your offerings for your expertise. He didn't see it because he was in the middle of it. He didn't,
in the middle of it. Yeah, for sure. You can't see the forest for the trees.
Yes. Yes. And another thing that's very common is for people to say, particularly right towards the end of the book, when we're wrapping things up, to say, is this any good? Does anybody even want to know this stuff? And yes, they do.
They
Um,
do. And I,
that comes down to other levels of issue. It's not about their writing at that point, you know.
yeah, it's not about the writing. I
Mhm.
think somewhat, like I in my little outline this morning, I listed reasons why you might want to write your book. And one
Yeah,
of the ones is just for the sake of writing it, right?
yeah,
And I think to some degree, if you don't have a sense of that, and all you have is reasons why you should write a book, it's probably not going to work. Like you may not do want to write the words, but you want to enjoy the process of getting those ideas, organizing them, getting down them on paper, and putting it out. And
yeah,
and if you have, like there are people we probably have clients who they just want to get the book out, they just get it, they publish it, it's off their list, then maybe they're going to go start the next book. They don't care if anybody reads it, really. They're not going to
yeah.
market it, going to publish it. It's just that's I'm a bit like that. I'm a compulsive writer. I just got stuff.
Hmm.
Okay, I've got to just finish this
Hmm.
and then move on to the next thing. But we also, from our marketing point of view, we know that if that's all you do, then it's not going to go anywhere. Like nobody's going to find your book. So
Right.
that's part of the whole. We'll talk about. We're going through the idea, and we've got the outline, and then you've written the book, and then we got the editing stuff, getting all the manuscript and everything ready to go. But we want to take it through to the launch as well. Like so, and that's where
Mhm.
you probably want to know. It's helpful if you know that from day one.
Yes.
When if they want to launch a book in order to create authority for themselves, or you know reinforce what they're doing with the business, or
Mhm.
or if they just want to simply be a bestseller and make money with the book, because those people exist.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's all true. And one of the people that I worked with as a book coach started marketing her book well over a year before the book actually came out.
yeah,
And that's my advice: is as soon as you know that you're committed to making your book happen, start talking about it.
yeah.
It's all a
Start,
form of marketing.
yeah, start getting a buzz. Like right now, I'm in the
Mhm.
middle of helping to launch ticket sales for a cancer benefit concert,
Mhm.
and we didn't actually, the tickets weren't available until Friday, but I had created a website. We had a website from the first concert, and then we had a second one, and there was a way for people to opt in. It says, if you want to get a notice when the tickets are available, you know, um, sign in. And we had a number of people sign in, and then we
Mhm.
got a hold of the mailing list for everybody who bought tickets for the
Yeah.
last one and mailed that out. So we've sold um, over 100 whole over 100 tickets the first day. So it's
Nice.
not bad. Yeah.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so we have a few more to go, but that's a good start, really.
Yeah. It's creating awareness that you have something is the first step. You
Yeah.
know, if you don't talk about it, nobody knows.
No, yeah.
And we get a lot of what I would call faulty information about how you quote shouldn't toot your own horn and things like that, which I call false modesty, because it's not helpful to yourself or to someone else to be so modest that you never let anybody know what you have to offer.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, for
not
sure.
good.
Yeah.
So
No, especially if you think your book can really help people,
mhm,
or change things for the better, or really give people joy or happiness, really
yeah.
nice, a good novel that people enjoy, that gives a lot of satisfaction for a long time.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
whatever it is, it's almost you need to let people know about it.
Yeah.
And as you say, like when you're writing, when you get to the point where you got your ideas and you've got the outline, you can actually test some of your ideas for the book by posting blog posts or social media things, so you can give people previews of the ideas and get
Mhm.
some feedback on it, right? See,
Yep.
what people are interested in, and
Mhm.
all can work together, and it just should be fun. So,
Yeah, it can be fun, like people will be enthusiastic about about it. And, it's wonderful when you have somebody go, I can't wait to read it. I mean, that's what you want to hear, right?
Yeah, that's what.
Keeps you going when you don't feel like writing, which, trust me, happens to everybody. I
Yeah,
write every day, and there's times when I don't want to write, and I go, well, that's too bad. Like Stephen King said, if you're a writer, that's your job. You write.
yeah,
But it doesn't matter what you think about it, how you feel about it. Get into it. Period.
yeah. That's the farmer's approach to writing, right?
Yep.
You get up, your day is just, you look at the weather, your whatever it is, and you've got your list of things. You got to do the most appropriate thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think with writing, even if you have a minimum that you have to do, at least pick up your pen, load it up and write and do something. You may not necessarily have to, like if you set yourself 1,000 words a day, and maybe you don't have 1,000 words in that day, but if you at least start, because it's so easy to procrastinate, right? Oh, I'll do that tomorrow. I'll do that tomorrow.
Yeah. No, that doesn't work. That doesn't work.
No.
Sometimes people don't believe me when I tell them I was a dairy farmer for 30 years. However, that's exactly what I did every day. It doesn't matter if you feel like milking the goat or not.
Yeah. Well, especially when like if you a goat or milk cows, you don't have an option. You really just do not
That's
have an
what I
option.
mean. Yeah.
The consequences of not are bad.
Exactly. That it doesn't matter what you think about it. You're getting up and putting that bucket on there to sterilize and making tracks up the hill. Period.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, it's just not going to work out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a kind of a fan of Julia Cameron, the Artist's Way, and she wrote a book called The Right to Write.
Yeah.
And basically that, the idea is every human's a writer. That's one of the things that makes us human.
Yeah.
And she just sort of disavowed this whole notion, I'll be a writer when I have time. And she just sort of said, nobody has time to be a writer. She says, I'm writing this chapter here, and in 15 minutes, I got to go out and water the horses. The next chapter I'm going to write when I'm sitting in the doctor's office waiting for an appointment. And then the chapter 2 I wrote waiting at a hotel at the airport. It says I don't really have time, and you can't if you're making that as an excuse not to write, then you'll never get it done. You have to take the time you have. But to your point, those like the Stephen King and the people who have office hours, says I'm sitting at my desk from 8 till noon, and I'm writing in one way or the other. I'm outlining or doing something, and I'm not going to play solitaire.
Exactly. And that's how you actually get things done. And funny you mentioned the word excuse, Greg, because my book, The Essential Excuse Handbook, started out as a list of excuses to not do your writing.
Oh yeah. So one of the books on my list is called The First Book of Lazy. And then the first paragraph will be, if you're reading this book, I've got over a few things.
Oh, yeah, you should get on it, man. That's a good book.
It's actually but it's actually, there's a lot of stuff. There's a philosophical, there's an aspect to lazy. There's there's a thing is like the law of least effort. There are all sorts of things.
The law of least effort is really good. It works.
Yeah. And we had one of our colleagues basically in a meeting said he got more sales if he just went off and played his guitar, right?
Yeah.
Rather than hammer away trying to make sales for his products. So sometimes working really hard at something isn't necessarily the best thing to do. But the other thing I'm going to say about you and I working together and working with our clients is, in a way, it's an accountability group. Like, it's easy for somebody to say, I want to write a book. And then even if they sign up for a course or something, but when they start working and says, okay, we're going to have a meeting every Thursday afternoon and to review where we're at and where we're going, then they say, oh, geez, I got to, even if it was, at 11:22 on Thursday, somebody's doing something furiously, so they have something to say during the meeting. At least it's some kind of motivation.
Yeah, and it keeps the process going, and it also makes people aware of where they're hung up.
Yeah, and yeah, for sure, and that's a good thing to discuss when people are hung up. come to a block. And there are many reasons. Like we might have an outline, but the outline isn't the last word, right?
No.
So maybe there's the fifth chapter, and we have something in there, and then all of a sudden, the person gets stuck. They can't write that. And then we'll sit there and look at it and says, well, maybe that's not the right thing to be doing there, right? So
yeah,
revise the outline or change it or give it a different spin.
Yeah.
So that's all the benefit of working with a group of collaborators, is you get different perspectives. And
yeah. And it's sitting in front of a keyboard with just me, myself, and I. It's fine. It's an important part of the writing process. And in order to really have perspective and to feel the happiness of it, you need to be with other minds and other people, so that you can share that kind of energy with people who get it and who care about what you're doing.
Yeah. So that's fun. So I guess our call to action is, if anybody has, they got a book, or they're wherever they are in the process, from they just have a notion, the ideas, to they got a pretty good idea with an outline, to maybe even they've got one or two drafts into their book and they want to know how to get it polished and formatted and out there. So if you're out there, if any of that applies to you, give us, contact us. We're streaming this out into all sorts of places, and LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube. So send us a text message. When on our list is to get our website up and going. That's a whole history in itself. My shared vision site, it's worth a book in itself, just where that domain's gone and the mishaps it's got over the years.
Well, it's like building a rocket launch pad. You start with what you've got, and then you figure out what you need, and then you figure out how to make it happen.
Anyway, but it's going to be fun. It's going to be pretty good. We're going to have a lot of fun building out the content for that too. And so anybody have any questions in our audience to now? Anything you want to know about it? And then if not, maybe we'll let people go off and think about it. I hope we've inspired somebody to at least think about, if they've been sitting on a book idea, that we can help them get going. And starting just with a discussion, no commitment. And we're going to, on the website, we've had a lot of interviews like this, where we've talked about a lot of ways of going about journaling, outlining, all that sort of stuff. So we're going to add that content to the website, so you can go there and get a lot of insight and advice on it. And then we're always available to talk about it and work out what would work for you, where you need the help, where you're stuck, where do you need guidance, where do you need some extra help, and we're in a position pretty much where we can start from the beginning to the end. There are some, depending, as Betty said, it depends on what somebody wants to do. There could be opportunity for us to bring a specialist in of some sort. Like, it could be a really top book designer, like a interior book designer, maybe a really good cover designer, maybe an illustrator, something like that. But for the most part, a lot of it, we have the capability of taking you from A to Z, from A to Z, depending on which side of the border you're on. And anyway, it all starts with a conversation with us, and
that's right.
Yeah, we'll see where you're at, where you want to go, help you get there.
Yeah, we'll meet you where you are and grow with you.
Yeah, there we go. Have a fun adventure with your book.
Yeah.
Enjoy the journey.
That's what it's all about.
What's all about. So I guess that with that, happy Monday, everyone. Any last minute requests or comments here we got a few people out there listening. So anyway, okay, all right.
Get in touch with us. Right. Bye-bye.
Bye.